So hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Mel's Gaming here with another The Hunter Call of the Wild video. Now in this video we're going to be recapping EW's latest livestream in which we got our first look at the Quist Red Pro Electronic Cooler. We learn a lot about this upcoming electronic cooler in this particular livestream, so we're going to go through all of the information and basically just take a look at what we were shown on stream. So here you can see the cooler actually in the store, and you can see that it is actually free. So it does look like this will be a free piece of equipment to actually get in game once you have purchased the DLC. Now we don't actually have a release date for the DLC yet or a price, but Jaxiebeard said to expect that it will be around the normal prices we normally expect, so it'll only be a fairly cheap DLC probably, as most Call of the Wild DLCs are. And Jaxiebeard said, you know, seeing as that we're taking a look at stuff on stream already, probably sort of within a month is what we would expect for a release date. So this is going to be coming to the game very soon. So now let's take a look at the cooler itself. You can see the character model actually holding it here and then placing it on the ground, and you can see a remote control pops into your hand. This is a remote controlled device and it's actually really interesting. You will have the options for all of the calls for the animals on that map. So any callable animal will appear and you'll be able to select a call for any of them. I think it's really nice that it is map specific and you don't have a list of every single callable animal species in the game listed. I think the choice to just limit it to the animals that are actually on that reserve makes for a much cleaner system, and so I really like how this looks overall. Really nice and clean. And you can see then you can go and actually use the different options. So if there are multiple calls for an animal type, for example turkeys having the locator call and the normal caller, you can actually select between the two as well. But something really exciting that comes along with this electronic cooler is the addition of a call for the American Alligator. Now, I do believe this call is exclusively for the electronic cooler. I don't believe that there is like a separate cooler as there is for every other species. I do believe that this is just exclusive to the electronic cooler from what was shown on stream. But this is a species that was previously unable to be called in. This is really fantastic to actually see, because you can actually call things like crocodiles and alligators in real life, and it uses the call of a young alligator to actually lure in the adults, and this is something that is done in real life, so this was really fantastic to see. And Jaxie also talked about the possibility of the addition for a call for the saltwater crocodiles, seeing as we now have one for the alligators. There isn't one for the saltwater crocodiles at the moment, but seeing as we do now have one for the alligators, and it is literally the same thing, using the call of a youngster to bring in the adults, there is a very good possibility, I would say, that maybe that's something that could come in the future, but that is just a possibility. But we do actually finally have a call for the American Alligator coming to the game, which is really fantastic to actually see. Now, something really interesting that was talked about on stream and actually shown on stream is the fact that you can only own one of these electronic coolers. Now, I think this is a bit of a strange choice, and it's something I'm not really a fan of, because you can only own one, and you can only place one. And when Jaxie went from one reserve to the next, after leaving one on the map, it actually picked up the call and took it to the next map with him. So rather than being able to purchase a certain amount and being limited to only placing one on each individual map, it seems like you can only own one overall, and only use it on one map at a time. So you can't own one for each reserve and place one on each reserve. You can only own the one and place one on any reserve at any time, which I think is a really interesting choice. Like I said, I was hoping that, you know, okay, if it's limited, maybe limit it to one per reserve, but it seems like you can only own one in general, which I'm really curious about, and I am gonna ask about that and see if that's something that maybe could be changed, because I don't see that as being something really useful. One per reserve makes, you know, sense if it is a decently powerful call, but, you know, only being able to own one in general and it being picked up if you go from one map to the other seems to be a very strange choice to me. Now, I'm imagining the reason it got picked up as Jaxie moved from one map to the other is because it was in his loadout, and seeing as you can only own one, I guess it got picked up. But even still, I think this is a very, very odd choice, because it means that you can't actually sort of make a setup and then leave it there and, you know, sort of use that permanently. It means that every time you want to go to this setup that you may have made, you're going to have to replace the cooler every time, which means that you might end up disturbing animals. So I think that that's a really, really strange choice. Now, taking a look at the cooler here in the storage, and you can see it has an effective range of 200 meters, which is the same as your normal coolers. You can see most of the normal coolers that were already in game have an effective range of 200 meters. Now, something that I noticed, and something that, again, I'm curious about and I'm going to ask about, is the attraction strength. Now, the attraction strength for the Electonic cooler is actually less than some of the coolers that already existed in game. For example, here you can see the Predator Jackrabbit cooler has an attraction strength of 40, and when we took a look at the Electronic cooler, it had an attraction strength of 30. So it's actually going to be less attractive than these already existing coolers. So again, I think this is a really interesting choice, and it's probably been made in the name of balance, but that's something that I hope can be changed, because seeing as this Electronic cooler only has a range of 200 meters, which is the same as most of these coolers already, and has less attraction strength, and you can only own one, it doesn't seem like it's going to be as useful as I was actually hoping it would be. Now, obviously, if you're doing something like bow hunting and you want animals to come in to a specific location so that they don't come in right under your stand, then this is something that could be useful, as you can place the Electronic cooler, you know, off in a specific direction, and then the animals are going to get attracted to that location rather than coming right up to you under your stand. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of other uses. It's going to be useful for calling in the alligators, seeing as it seems to be the only way to call in the alligators, but for the other species, it doesn't actually seem to have that much use. As I said, the only real situation I can think of actually using it for, where it actually might be beneficial, is placing it off to one side when you're bow hunting from a tree stand, so that you can get more sort of downwards broadside angles, rather than having to try and shoot down into an animal's lungs from straight above. So it's really, really interesting, some of the decisions that have been made with this cooler. And as I said, I expect a lot of these decisions have been made in the name of balance, seeing as, you know, this allows you to call every single callable animal in the game, and it means that you can carry around this and be able to call all of these different species. But I think there are some things that maybe need to be adjusted. Now, I also saw some chat about whether this cooler might be helpful on things like the Great One Black Bear grind and the issues that black bears currently have. Well, in my opinion, this isn't going to change anything, because as mentioned, you can't really leave this in one spot and then be able to, you know, make different setups, seeing as you can only have the one call. And if you're going to be grinding more than one zone, then you can't really just leave this in place. So you're going to end up spooking things. And seeing as a lot of the issues black bears seem to have are related to them coming into their zones super late and sometimes even not making it into their zones, I don't see how this can really help. And that's unfortunate. Now, something else that's worth mentioning is in multiplayer, every player on a multiplayer map can place one of these coolers. So if there are 8 people on a multiplayer map session, then all of those 8 people, as long as they own the DLC, can place one of these coolers. So if you have multiple friends who want to make a setup with you and do a multiplayer hunt, then you can each place one of these coolers and then call in different species. So I can see this being a fun thing to do in multiplayer. Now, talking about the weight of this cooler, Jaxiebeard said it weighs about 5 units, so it's a fairly heavy thing as well, which obviously makes sense seeing as it is something you're going to be placing, but seeing as you can only own one of these, you can't really leave it in just one place, so if you're going to be using this, you are going to be carrying it around a lot, so it's going to be a quite heavy thing to actually be carrying around. So there is still going to be an advantage to using the coolers that already existed in game. So a lot of really interesting information about the electronic cooler. A lot of stuff that I hope can be adjusted, and like I said throughout this video, I know that a lot of these choices have probably been made in the name of balance and not making the old coolers useless, but I do think there are some things that could maybe be changed, like the attraction range and the attraction strength, just to make this cooler a little bit more useful. But that is just my opinion. I would be really curious to hear what you guys all think about this cooler and the different aspects of this cooler, about only being able to own one of them, the attraction range, the attraction strength, all of that information that we learn in today's stream. But that is going to be it for this one, so thank you so much for watching and for all your support as always. I can't wait for this pack to come out. I'm still really excited about it, and I will cover any new information that we get. Next week's stream is going to be looking at the new weapons coming with this pack, so I will definitely be covering that next week. But that is going to be it for this one, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.